the Seiko 5 Sports line is an entire lineup of Seiko's entry-level automatic watches. There's such a large variety of models to choose from field watches to pilot, diver, and everyday watches, but here are two lines in particular that I suggest taking a look at. First, the SRP E series, which is a bit more versatile and perfect for your first automatic everyday watch. The designs are clean and relatively minimal, but still sporty, so you can easily dress it up or down, be it more formally or casually. This is the watch that will almost never look out of place regardless of what you're doing. Plus, the design is simple and minimal enough that you can easily change out the straps for different looks without spending money on a whole new watch. Now, out of the SRP E series, there's also a wide variety of different dial colors and even a couple of different variations of models to choose from. I suggest getting any of them that you like the dial color of that come with a bracelet, because a metal bracelet is much harder to find a replacement for than a leather or nylon or any type of other strap. And similarly, the SRP D series is another lineup from the Seiko 5 Sports line, but a little bit sportier since they're originally designed for divers. This is why they have the big outer ring around the bezel of the watch, because the diver would typically use it to measure how much time they have left in their dive tank. However, you can use it to time just about everything. Regardless, the SRPD series is just a little bit chunkier, bigger, a little bit bolder, a little more wrist presence. Great thing about either of these two watches, Seiko is a very reliable brand, and their automatic movements, even on the entry level, are very reliable, durable workhorses that can go years and years without ever needing a service or having any problems. And since they're so popular, if you ever wanted to upgrade any part of it, like the bracelet for a more solid option or the crystal to a more scratch-resistant sapphire, you can easily do that with the wide variety of parts that are available. I encourage you to kind of explore the whole lineup, see if any of the other designs speak to you, but there's one more that I encourage you to take a look at, the Seiko 5 GMTs, the SSK lineup. For just a little bit more money, you get an added GMT complication, which allows you to track an additional time zone or up to 2 more time zones, which can be very practical if you're someone who either travels a lot or maybe you work in a company or clients in different time zones. And in this price range, finding an automatic GMT complication is very rare. In fact, until this watch from Seiko came out, it was pretty much non-existent. Plenty of other brands have started to release their own version using the same movement that Seiko released. Moving aside from Seiko, you've got the Orient Bambino. This has been the go-to choice for anyone looking for an entry-level automatic watch under the $200 price range, and not only just because of how good it looks. Orient is a highly regarded Japanese brand, right up there with Seiko, and actually both are owned by the same parent company, Seiko Epson. The Orient Bambino uses a solid automatic movement that Orient makes themselves and is decently accurate for a bare-bones entry-level automatic. It has an original design with a wide variety of different models and generations over the years, from more minimal designs to some a little bit more involved, like the Gen 2 V2, which has Roman numerals, and they're still releasing new models in this lineup to this day, so there's almost certain to be one that kind of fits your style or aesthetic. Now, this is a little bit more of a classic dress watch, still looks good with casual wear, but if you are looking for something a little more sporty, Orient also has you covered with their Komatsu. Now, the Komatsu is simply one of the best values in automatic watches to this day, because for around $200, you get one of the best bang for your bucks with specifications like a screw-down crown and 200 meters of water resistance, both meaning that this watch is very water resistant, even up to the point of recreational diving, and a sapphire crystal, which is pretty much impossible to scratch. But why do you care? You know, you're not a diver, you're not someone who plans on diving. Why does that matter? This simply means you won't have to baby this watch whatsoever. You could just live your life. You never need to take it off if you're gonna hop in the pool. You just use it going about your day, whereas watches that don't have as much water resistant, like the Orient Bambino, you need to be a little bit more cautious about it. And in fact, I wouldn't even swim with that Orient Bambino at all. You might actually break it. And in general, I think the Komatsu is the perfect dive watch. It's original enough from all the other dive watches on the market, so it's not a copy or a clone. You can be proud to own and wear an original design. The dials are incredible with different colored sunburst. My personal Komatsu is a red sunburst dial, which I don't have in any other watch, so it's really cool to look at and gives me a lot of joy every time I use it. And similar to the Seiko 5s, if you ever wanted to step it up a notch, you could upgrade the bracelet like I did on mine to a third-party bracelet, and together this entire package between the watch and the bracelet will cost you maybe around $300, and you'll get a really solid feeling watch that rivals those that cost much more. Next up, the Citizen Tsuyosa. Now, this is a relative newcomer in the automatic watch world. For roughly around $300, depending on when and where you get it, you get a very cool and sporty integrated bracelet watch. Integrated bracelet means, unlike the Komatsu, you won't be able to swap out this bracelet for other options if you wanted to. Now, this is both a blessing and a curse because on one hand, it makes a very cool streamlined design where the watch kind of just flows right into the bracelet. And admittedly, the bracelet looks cool. It has the brushed and polished links. It's very sporty, very modern. Particularly on the Suyosa, the bracelet isn't the highest quality. It's not the most solid or robust feeling. So on one hand, if this was your first ever watch, you probably wouldn't even notice the difference. You know, you have no other solid bracelets to compare this to. You just think, hey, this is an awesome watch. I enjoy wearing it. The bracelet looks cool. It's good enough. And if you really like the design, which don't get me wrong, the design in the Suyosa is awesome. I love the colorful dial options. I love the sunburst dials. I mean, I've never considered a yellow watch before. The polished center links on the bracelet are sporty and just looks cool. And I think this watch is priced fairly. So this is a great option to go with. But just keep that in mind. If you are someone who likes to upgrade your stuff to the best ever, you're not going to be able to upgrade this bracelet even if you wanted to. Now, finally, in the under or around $300 category, I wanted to mention some Timex automatics. Quick disclaimer, compared to some of the other options on this list, I don't think they offer the best value for your dollar in terms of specifications, mostly because of the movement used. Compared to some of the movements used in the other watches we mentioned, which are a little bit more reliable, robust, accurate over a period of time, I think they're not quite there. Watches are always a compromise, right? It's always a combination of looks, build quality, and price. And just because a watch is maybe not as good in one than others, that doesn't make it a bad watch. And that's why I wanted to call out some of these watches as still good options for you to consider. Maybe you love the way they look. Specifically, watches like the Timex Expedition North Titanium 41mm. Now, despite what I just said about the movements not being a good value, getting a titanium watch at this price point, sub $300, is incredible. Rarely do you find such a material. Most watches are made of stainless steel, and titanium is much, much lighter, basically disappears on your wrist. So if you're someone who prefers a lightweight watch, this is a great option for you. And it has a kind of modern field watch design with big, bold, legible hour markers and a big, chunky handset that's easy to read at a quick glance. Looks pretty cool. And also the M79 automatic divers. They offer really cool vintage diver aesthetics. Kind of get that vintage Rolex Submariner look on a budget. But compared to some of the other dive watches we mentioned, like the Komatsu, this one only has 50 meters of water resistance, so you're definitely not diving with this. I probably wouldn't even swim with this. Next up in the under $500 price points, we have the Hamilton Khaki, perhaps one of the best bang for your buck automatics and one of the most iconic watches on this list. Now, Hamilton is a reputable brand all the way back to the 1890s in America. In the past, they supplied field watches in the World War, but more recently, as of the 1960s, they've been acquired by a Swiss conglomerate. But regardless, buying a Hamilton Khaki is not only a way to get a great automatic watch for the money, but also get a lot of watch history and has a lot of backstory to it as well. Now, aside from all that hoopla, the watch itself is actually one of the best values you can get. It has a traditional field watch design, and field watches were designed for military usage, so they were very legible, straightforward, big, bold hour markers, and to be a little bit more subtle, but the automatic Khaki field kind of takes it up a notch and refines everything about a field watch to the point where it's almost a little dressy. I mean, the contrast of both the brushed and polished finish all over the case, as well as the different levels of stepped and contrasting finish on the dial between circular brushing and sun ray finish. This is a watch that definitely looks much more expensive than it actually is. Thanks to its variety of sizes, you can get it in either 38mm, which is my personal preference and what I own because I have a 6.5-inch wrist. I think it looks good. But if you have a bigger wrist or just prefer bigger watches, you might want to look at the 42mm variant instead. Regardless, the watch doesn't just look great, it also houses an incredible Hamilton H10 movement, which is based on a Swiss ETA 2824 movement, which is absolutely incredible. Not only is it reliable and known to kind of stand the test of time of years and years of use and abuse, it can also be pretty accurate. Well, there's so many parts available for it that if you ever need to get it serviced or repaired by a watchmaker, they'd be able to source parts for it and kind of service it and fix it up no problem. Even 10, 20, 30 years down the line, which is maybe not something you could say for every single affordable automatic watch. Next, Islander watches. So they're a small and up-and-coming brand owned by Mark from Long Island Watches. So they're actually a watch dealer, but they happen to release this line of Islander watches, which basically take some Seiko designs and some other designs too, some of their own original designs, and basically upgrade them to 100. So while they keep their prices relatively affordable, these are some of the best specifications you can get within their respective price tag. I think some of the designs look incredible. They even include some original dials and colors. For example, the Brookville, which is a really cool alternative to the Seiko 5 SRP-E series that we mentioned before, with textured dials, different colors, upgrades to the build quality, like including a sapphire crystal, and a really solid third-party bracelet that we spoke about before, but this time it's already included on the watch. So you're pretty much getting like the ultimate Seiko without having to mod it yourself or to get someone to do it for you. It's already done. And they offer a lot of variety in terms of designs as well, like the Bayport, which is just a really cool dive watch, tons of colors, and again, much better specifications over your more entry-level Seiko. Next, the Glycine Combat Sub. Glycine is incredibly underrated, one of the best affordable automatic watches you can get. It's a dive watch with 200 meters of water resistance, but tons of unique vintage flair to set itself apart from the competition. It's a design that hasn't changed much over the years. Well, it hasn't needed to. It's such a timeless and classic design, and they use some really cool materials, like even bronze and some of their more affordable options. A ton of different colors, different sizes, anything you want, the Combat Sub does it. And just like the Hamilton Khaki mentioned before, many of them use Swiss ETA 2824 movements, which are as reputable workhorse entry to mid-level movements as you can possibly get. Next, the Citizen ProMaster. Now, I don't really know where to price this. Sometimes I see the automatic versions priced for $200, sometimes they're $450. So I don't know. But in general, these are as much of a workhorse dive watch as you can possibly get. For a time, they were recognized and used by the Italian Navy to go and show you how rugged and reliable they are. From a design perspective, this is all tool watch. I mean, this is a purpose-built dive watch that is designed for diving, and it sure looks like it. It's bold, legible, chunky, industrial, super fun to wear. Citizen is a very, very reliable, reputable brand, and they use their own in-house Miyota movements, which they make themselves. And there's also eco-drive versions of this model that are solar powered, but of course, if you're here for this video, you want an automatic, which they do have as well. Now, for over $500, you start to get into some really cool Tissot's. On one hand, probably the most popular choice, the Tissot PRX. Now, if you're looking for something a little bit unconventional, right, a little bit different than the other round watches on this list, but not all the way out there, you know, not some crazy alien design, the PRX is a very, very popular choice right now for its integrated bracelet, stainless steel sports watch look that kind of resembles some much more expensive luxury watches like the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. The build quality is solid, you feel it on your wrist, feels nice, a little bit light and jangly, but kind of that 70s retro style, and the finish is done really, really well. Texture on the waffle dials are incredible. They come in a couple of different colors, and although these come in at 40 millimeters in diameter, it is said that there will be 35 millimeter versions of the automatic ones as well, which already exist in the quartz versions. What's more impressive about it, it has a power reserve of 80 hours, which means it can run for up to 80 hours when fully wound. This means you can wear the watch all week. Similarly, another watch from Tissot to check out is the Tissot Gentleman, which I think is a little bit more classic alternative to the PRX. You know, kind of has that classic sports dress watch styling that you can easily dress up or down. Unlike the PRX, this does not have an integrated bracelet, which means you can definitely change out the strap. Because of this sort of minimal design of the dial, it will match really well with a bunch of different straps. So again, you could spend a little bit extra money on a couple of different straps to get a lot more variety. Next, moving into the slightly more expensive side of Seiko. Earlier we talked about the entry level, but for spending, you know, a few $100 more, so jumping up from $200 to $300 to maybe $500 to $700, you could get yourself a fantastic entry to mid-level watch like the Seiko Alpinist, possibly one of the best go anywhere, do anything watches that there is. So the Seiko Alpinist is a very kind of dressy yet sporty mix of everything watch. It has a rich history and was originally designed for mountaineering, and as a result, this watch is very, very purpose-built and durable. So although it looks great and kind of dressy if you put it on the right strap, it's also a very capable watch as well. This makes it a great one-watch collection for pretty much everything. It has 200 meters of water resistance, which is the same as some actual dive watches. Even though this isn't a dive watch, it's still capable of doing diving if you wanted to. It has an internal rotating bezel with the extra crown, which is more for mountaineering and navigation than it is for keeping track of the time. And it also has a screw-down crown, a sapphire crystal that's pretty much scratch-proof, and let's face it, it just looks cool. There's a couple of different color variations and also styles that come in different colors, some more modern and some more vintage looking than others, so you can really kind of find your place on the Alpinist spectrum. But there's another set of watches that I want to kind of bring to your attention that I don't personally recommend for a first watch, and let me explain. These are called homage watches, which are basically brands that take already existing designs from, say, luxury watches and kind of stamp their own logo on it. It's not a $100 watch that's pretending it's a Rolex. Instead, it's a $100 watch that took the Rolex design and stamped their own logo on it. Now, This is fine. I get that not everyone has thousands of dollars to spend on a luxury watch design, but you still want to be able to enjoy the watch style, and I think you should. So I don't think there's anything inherently or morally wrong with homage watches, but sometimes depending on their brand, the quality control or customer service may not be the best. So I would encourage you to at least seek out ones that have good customer service, good quality control, or at least buy from reputable marketplaces that have good return policies like Amazon Prime. This way, if you do get one that's kind of a lemon, it's not working, you know you're at least covered to at least get an exchange for one that actually works as it should. So anyway, do your research, make sure you're buying from a reputable brand that at least has decent return or exchange policies. All the watches mentioned in this video will be linked below. Let me know what watches you'd include in this list for newcomers for part 2.